Ole Miss takes care of LSU, Washington State, and Georgia's on the horizon. Trinidad's in the Heisman conversation as the AP National Player of the Week. Let's talk to the wide receiver, Bill Flowers, and find out what he thinks.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for joining the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a former staff member and a former member of Yahoo Sports in the national media. Also did a little time at WSMV in Nashville as well. So we're going to bring in Bill Flowers today. We're going to talk about all the news. Beating LSU, Trinidad getting AP Player of the Week, Ole Miss preparing for Georgia, even though Washington State's next. We're going to talk about all of that stuff in today's show. But first, all of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download that app today. All right, so Bill, one thing that's interesting to me, we just did the FanDuel thing right there. Trinidad Chambliss right now the number 5 player in the betting rankings to win the Heisman Trophy right now at plus 1,200. What do you think about that?
I think he's on the roll. I mean, I don't think there's a way that you could dispute it. I think this is the fear of like I mentioned last week of trying to keep Austin Simmons and Trinidad on the same team. It's very much, these are year-to-year contracts, and these kids can go wherever they want. And when you have a kid that has won a national championship at Division II, comes in, and you saw him get a little bit not he was a little bit overwhelmed in the beginning. You're playing LSU, doesn't get any more intense than that. It was at home, but still, I mean, he knew everybody was going to watch him, and he knew that all the eyes were on him. He found his composure. This is the perfect offense for him. The offensive line's not great. So for him to be able to neutralize that weakness by his ability to run, that you saw where they created those quarterback runs for him. I think that if he continues to do what he does, and Ole Miss can win out, I think he is the Heisman Trophy winner. The question's going to be, from a Heisman standpoint, can he, if Ole Miss wins out, let's just say scenario, they win out, but is he doing it in ways where he's throwing for 300 yards a game and running for 75 to 100 yards? He wins it hands down. If it's one of these things where, it's just the kind of a blue collar, like you're just churning it out, and it's very much the defense is playing really well. The running back's really doing really well. And they're winning, but they're not winning on complete dominance by him. You might see somebody else who comes out of the woodwork, who's, like look at Miami quarterback, Beck. He's somebody that you've seen has transformed that team. Like he's come in. I would say like Beck is a perfect example of somebody that if I was going to look at the Heisman candidacy, you got to look at him. You got to look at the Alabama quarterback Simpson. They're playing really strong. Alabama doesn't play Ole Miss, so he's a really good shot. So I think Trinidad is really going to have to not only win every game, but he's going to have to, wow, he's really implementing the throwing of 300 yards a game and rushing for 75 plus. I think that's how he secures it. So the fact that we're even having this conversation is nobody. I mean, there would be zero people in the world that would be at the beginning of the season would say Trinidad's going to be your Heisman candidate, trophy winner. Like nobody would have thought that. So it's wild, but he fits this offense perfectly.
Whenever you played with Eli in 2003, at what point in time during that season to where you're like, okay, the Heisman Trophy's become a real thing?
We really never thought about that. We never did. We had a couple losses and I can truly tell you, you would think as a receiver, you're thinking, okay, man, we're just lighting it up. We're throwing for 400 yards a game. That wasn't it just wasn't there. We didn't have that thought. I mean, we were just so focused on trying to win every game that we never thought, man, Eli's got a shot to win the Heisman. It really never came across to us. I think that there were times like we've talked in the past. I think Spurlock, I think some of the, the fact that, you had a quarterback in waiting that really needed some experience. I think that kind of hurt us, that, Cutcliffe was really trying to give Eli the chance to win a Heisman at the expense of kind of, getting your backup some experience for the next year. Cutcliffe would probably had more of that in his mind than us as players. But we just wanted to win. And, and we all know that the Heisman candidacy, there's voters involved. It's, you're leaving it up to voters. So as players, you're just out there just trying to win. You're just trying to take care of your everyday job. When we played LSU, there was not and I can 100%, maybe I'm wrong, but I can tell you Eli did not have 1 second of thinking anything about the Heisman. He was, we got to beat LSU. I don't think Eli for 1 second thought about the Heisman Trophy. I think he was just 100% team focused on winning a game. And I think that's where the players are. They're just like, hey, you know what? If Trinidad wins, fantastic. That means that we won
a lot of games.
Yeah, we won a lot of games. So, that's out of your control.
All right. So this is a little aside that just popped into my head. What was the more impressive hit in the 2003 Alabama game? Was it Patrick Willis's kickoff or Kerry Johnson running the guy over going into the end zone?
Patrick Willis's hit, because he at that time he was I think
he's either a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. I think he was a true freshman.
Yeah. And that was one of the that was at the beginning of the game. I think
it was the opening kickoff, if I'm not mistaken.
So, I mean, to me, it was a wow. And Kerry Johnson's running him over was a wow. But I think if you had to think back through it, I mean, we all just went, woo! Like Patrick, I mean, when you see somebody get absolutely blown up on a kickoff,
it can change a game. It can
absolutely change a game. When Patrick Willis blows you up, you get blown up. So I have to give that to Patrick.
All right. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about the bye week preparation. Ole Miss giving 2 days to Georgia during this bye week. We'll ask Bill about that and what he thinks is going on. as soon as we come back. But first, I do want to let you know about Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every single detail, from the metallic accents to the leather Napa upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Also, most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or just investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like you and me. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is the app for you. It does all the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money, all without ever having to see a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much money as you thought you would. Monarch helps you notice those inefficient investment allocations and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs along the way. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Also, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment to the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but helps keep all of this free. If you want more, join the Insiders program on the subtext link down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel. So give that a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. All right, so Bill, I heard earlier today that Ole Miss is spending, I think Lane Kiffin said it, they're spending 2 days on the Georgia Bulldogs before Ole Miss plays Washington State. Now, this is a bye week. There's a lot of recruiting going on. This is the week where coaches hit the road, and you might have 3 coaches at a football practice. I mean, that's what's going on this week. But 2 days going over the Georgia Bulldogs, that's not nothing.
No, 2 days is not significant. It's not as much. I mean, I think with Washington State coming in, the thing that concerns me is that with bye weeks, when you have an offense that's built on finesse, really on passing the ball, on getting things going, like our LSU game in 2003 that came on that came on an off week. Players do not like off weeks. They do not, because what happens is you get in a groove, and then all of a sudden that groove comes to a stop.
Yeah, the routine stops.
Yeah, and then you got to get back. You got to get back into that groove. And in 2003, what set up the run game was a passing game. So we had to get our passing game going, and it took us a while. And we eventually got it going, and it took us until about the second half. And the thing about Ole Miss this year is that with Chambliss and the run game that we've got, it mitigates a lot of that finesse that takes time to get going, but there's still a little bit of, okay, can we get back going? You also have a team that hasn't lost, that just beat LSU. Everybody's giving them the rat poison. And you've got these players who are thinking, hey, Georgia, that's who we're playing. With the NIL and the transfer portal, you're no longer going to see these dominant teams that
those
are
old Georgia and Alabama teams.
It's not going to be a legacy of, okay, this is a dynasty. It's not going to happen anymore. It's like the NFL. The reason why the NFL doesn't have dynasties is because not every team has a Tom Brady, does not have a Peyton Manning, does not have a, does not have, you do not have those dominant quarterbacks that create, you put this quarterback in on a team and they will win. There's only going to be, 2 or 3 of those. And, but in college now, every team is going to be very good. And you cannot look at Washington State and just say, okay, they're trash. They're not. They've got kids that are good. And so that's my concern, is that Washington State, yes, here they're in the Pac-12 or whatever that conference is.
I think it's still called the Pac-12, even though there's 2 teams.
So nobody, from a standpoint of nobody really wanted to wants to go to the Pac-12. So, that might mitigate Washington State's roster, but they still got players that came in there that can play. So you cannot for 1 second think that Washington State is a Division I AA powder puff game. You just can't. I mean, Washington State is coming to Oxford, Mississippi. They're going to have all the eyes on them. You're going to get 100% effort of these kids, and these kids put their, are Division I players, and they can play, and you cannot overlook it. So between Washington State having good players, you don't know how mature our players are in regards to blocking out the noise and not ingesting the rat poison. You're coming off an off week where, on the weekend, they're just, you hope they're not going to do things stupid, and, they're resting their bodies. I mean, you've got to be mature. And then, the Washington State, week comes, and, are they going to be overlooking? Washington State? It's something that if they go out and crush Washington State, that shows you that Ole Miss is that the coaching staff is mature, that the coaching staff has reined them in, has gotten them focused. So I think there's a lot to it. And, Saban was the king of making sure that his team did not ingest rat poison and overlook, other teams.
Yeah. The funny thing is, this season, I don't think this team is going to have that problem because they lost to Kentucky a year ago. As long as that Kentucky loss is on the resume, there's nobody going to overlook anything, because last year that Ole Miss team was cocky going into the Kentucky Wildcats game. You could tell in interviews and everything else.
I think it's just as much as it is the players, it's the coaches. This is a team. This is an organization. You don't win just by your players. You win by your coaches as well. So, let's put this let me throw this out there. How many players, and I don't know the answer to this, I would love to know the answer. How many players that really played, that were really involved in the Kentucky game last year, are on the roster this year?
Not a lot, but that message has gone around. Everybody, even the ones that transferred in the spring, everybody's been talking about those games. Everybody knows about that.
And that's kind of my point is that, you know, you've got guys that have transferred in. They didn't experience it. They're being told it, you know? So this is where the coaching staff really has to do a really good job of just, you know, making sure that those players are really focused in and locked in. And I do think that the maturity, like you're not taking the guys that are playing right now, these aren't kids that were in high school. These were kids that were playing at other Division I programs that are mature, that have experienced it. So I think that plays to the advantage of not overlooking Washington State. You have more mature men that understand it. But again, it's easy to overlook these teams. It's easy to overlook to Georgia. And I don't think for 1 second that the coaching staff is overlooking Washington State. I just think you have to have a blue collar mindset of we are here to take care of Washington State. Don't think about Georgia. Okay, if you want to contribute 2 days to Georgia, okay, but really focus and lock in on Washington State. And you know, and Kiffin, as many coaching staffs that he's been on, especially Saban, you know, I would love to know, would this be something that Saban implemented into his philosophy? Did he focus 2 days on Georgia on an off week when they were playing Washington, if they were going to play Washington State? I don't know. I don't know that. So like I don't remember us, and maybe we did implement this into Cutcliffe's algorithm of how he prepared for an off week. It's too long for me to remember. But I think that, you know, Georgia is a team that that is definitely 100% warrants as much focus as you possibly can. But I mean, remember we went into Memphis and lost in 2003, and that should not have happened. Should not have happened. And so there's just that the maturity that you hope that the team has of what something so special that they have going right now, that the players are looking at it as, just like you asked me about the question about what was y'all's thought process on Eli and the potential Heisman. Are they looking at this as all we care about is winning the next game? That's all we care about. If that's the mindset that they have versus the Georgia and the big picture of the playoffs, I mean, those are the questions that we will see when they take the field against Washington State. And if they blow them up, then you know they've got the maturity that we're hoping they have.
All right, when we come back, we will ask Bill Flowers about Deuce Alexander. He kind of reminded me of a certain number 84 out there on the outside against LSU. We'll talk about that right after this. But first, I do want to let you know, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, even followed live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you have a little bit of action riding on the game. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that have become an extension of home, whether it's a sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, or the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. So listen, take this ad as a reason to support some of these neighborhood locations. Maybe that's Phillips Grocery in Oxford, or Taylor Grocery down in Taylor, Mississippi, or heck, even the Oxford Creamery. Those are all Square businesses. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. Before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, one thing that was very impressive to me, Bill, was Deuce Alexander absolutely ate against the LSU cornerbacks. Lane Kiffin picked on the LSU cornerbacks at various points during that game, and specifically Deuce Alexander. It kind of reminded me whenever Ole Miss was furiously coming back against LSU in that Eli game in 2003. Throw it up, he will go get it. They did that to Deuce Alexander, opened up that game, and that is the moment where Ole Miss just took over that ball game.
I mean, he's been so impressive, and thank you for putting me in the comparison of Deuce Alexander. I mean, he's special. And those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Like Washington State probably has transfers that look at Chambliss. I mean, they might have people like that, so you have to be cautious about that. But yes, when you have players that get hot, you've got to feed them the ball. And he was hot, and he's done a fantastic job this year. He's stretching the field. He does really well with catching the ball and yards after the catch. He gets open. He knows how to find those. He just knows how to find the open holes. That's one of the things that people don't understand, is that's not something you really teach. I think if you had to ask me what was one of the best things that I could do, was find a hole. You just have it. You just kind of feel it. You know it. You know where you need to be when you're in man, you're in zone. You just kind of understand it. He does a really good job with that. It makes it easy for the quarterback. It makes the quarterback feel very comfortable. So because that when you have a play called, you can trust the guy. I remember against Auburn in 2003. It was our damn near fourth. It was third down, but we were. This was the last play of the game, essentially, where we went on to that drive and scored. We couldn't hear anything. It was absolutely the huddle. We were back in the student section of Auburn. You couldn't hear anything. Eli looked at me. We couldn't hear anything in the huddle, but he just looked at me and he's like, "The ball's coming to you." And it develops. You trust the players that that can find it, and you can tell that Chambliss is trusting in Alexander, and that's important. And he's doing a fantastic job, and the fact that he's got such speed is it's helping stretch the field. But I think you really got to start just continually just trying to feed him the ball.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. All right, flag football check-in. What's the flag football update?
We're we're getting better. We got our team unfortunately got Auburned by the refs last week. They didn't count a touchdown for us.
They didn't count it.
They didn't count one. We lost. They didn't count one. Said, well, we didn't get that. We're like, what? Because one of our touchdowns got called back, and then a couple plays later they scored, and at the end of the game they're like, here's the score, and the other team was sort of like, really? Oh, okay, we'll take the win. And we were like, what? So we're improving, we're getting better. Kids are having fun. That's what matters. We're improving.
All right, Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Yes, sir. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy. All right, Bill Flowers joining the show. Thank you so much, Bill, for stopping by, and thanks everybody for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. It's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation. A long-time, two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody. Remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.